Okay. Aleph, Aleph Gimel.
Yeah.
The crossbeam of which we spoke, of which they spoke, it is wide enough to hold an ariach. The ariach is half a brick measuring 3 fists. It's sufficient for the crossbeam to be 1 fist wide and to hold an ark lengthwise. Wide enough to hold an ark and strong enough to hold an ark. Yehuda says wide, even if it is not strong. Excuse me. If it was made of straw or reeds, we view it as if it was made of metal, bent. We view it as if it was straight, rounded. We view it as if it was squared. Anything which has a circumference of 3 fists has a diameter of 1 fist. Okay,
Okay. Lechayayin Shamru. All right. So the Lechayayin, that's the upright post that when we're talking about making a heker on the side of the Mavoy. Uh,
right.
Govhan Asarat Tfachim has to be 10 Tfachim high in order to make be of any use. The Rochban Ovyan Kolshehu and any thickness. Okay, wow, that's quite radical. So
Right.
you tape a hair, a very long hair to the side of the post, is that the
Okay.
that they're talking about? No. So the answer is the korshahu is basically a finger breadth. So it's a finger breadth is enough to be visually recognizable, and that's what's required. Now, Rabbi Yossi Omer Rochban Shlosha Tfachim. He says, nah, it's got to be at least 3 Tfachim in order to be recognizable, which actually is more machmir than he is on the beam, because the beam we said is only has to be a tefach. But since this it's only going to be 10 tefachim high anyway, and so it's down there. So Rabbi Yossi says it does need to be bigger in order to make it recognizable, but that is not the halacha. Okay, Zayin, bechol osin l'chayayin. You can make a lechi out of anything. Okay, afilu b'davar sheyesh bo ruach chaim, even something that's alive. And you think, okay, this is probably not according to the manufacturer's warranty. Yeah,
Right.
but but if you take a snake, let's say, and you manage to tie it, up, if it's a snake that's more than 10 tefachim long, and you tie it to the pole so that it can't move, then
Right. So,
then yeah, that's a lechi for Shabbos. Why? Why would you ever do this? Uh,
snake will not be, when you let him out, he won't be happy, the snake.
it's the craziest thought ever that somebody would say, okay, I've got a nice stick over here, but let me rather use a snake, or let me find I'll take a cow and tie that to the pole.
Right.
Um, I suppose, it could be that the cow is tied next to the pole on its 4 legs, and it's more than 10
Right.
feet high. So okay, that's your lechi. So yeah, maybe that could be a reasonable thing, but again, the cow is gonna probably want to move.
Once you move,
Why Rabbi Yossi asks it, by the way. Rabbi Yossi is Oser. He says you can't do it with a living creature because it might come to move. Um, and it'll or it, sorry, no, Rabbi Yossi, I beg your pardon. Rabbi Yossi's objection is because maybe the animal will die, and during the course of the Shabbos it'll shrink and it'll be less than the 10 tefachim required.
he also says we may not write bills of divorce on it. Now, who would write a divorce again
We'll
on
get,
a snake?
we'll get that. We'll get to that in just a minute. Okay. Matame Mishum Golel. Also, while we're on the subject of using animals not for their intended purposes, you can if you had a grave. Now we've learned this in Ohalos, which we're going to do Chazara on soon anyway. Um, but oh no, we no, it's going to be a while before we get back to Ohalos actually. But with a gravestone, if there's a gravestone on top of a grave and you touch it from the side even, you become tummy from the mace. Okay, so that's the din of a golel, is that
Right.
the stone on top, even just touching it from the side, transmits the tumah. And the same thing goes for if you use an animal, a live animal, as a golel. Um, that if you had to touch it from the side, it would transmit the tumah to you. So normally a live animal cannot transmit tumah at all.
Right.
but in this case where it's being used as a golel, it also transmits tumah. Rabbi Meir Mataher, he says, forget about it. If it's alive, there's no circumstance under which a live animal can transmit tumah, says Rabbi Meir, which is not the halacha. Because we're allowed gitei nashim, and furthermore, if you have a cow and you lack a piece of parchment, what you can do is you can write the get on its horn and then give the whole animal to the woman, and that's a kosher get. Okay. Rabbi Yossi Haglili Posel, he says no, it is a sefer. The word that the Torah uses is a sefer, therefore it has to be on a scroll. But again, that's the rest of the Chachamim say no, that's just the way it would normally be done. But technically, if the sefer krisos that we're talking about for a divorce, is sipur. It's the Sefer Kritzot is the sipur of the Divrei Kritzot. It's the telling of the details of the divorce, which if they're written on a cow's horn, you can still read and to that extent, it's still considered a sefer. Okay, so that was an interesting Mishnah about using live animals not for their intended purpose.
Okay.
Okay, Ches, Shiara. So here you've got an army division. That's obviously a Jewish army we're talking about over here.
Right.
Um, or well, not dafka an army. It's any kind of a group of travelers, a convoy of travelers. I think it's just a common thing. They use a shiara often as an expression of the army that's coming through, but it could be any group of travelers. Actually, it's a caravan. Right?
Okay.
Shechanta bika. So they set up for Shabbos in a valley. Okay, well there's nothing else around them. What do they do? Hikifua beklei behema, and they take so now they want to be able to carry between their tents. So how are they going to do this in this carmelit? It's a carmelit because it's a valley. It's not a Rosh Hashanah. So what they do is they take the clay behema, like whatever the
Saddle.
saddles and packs and whatever, and surround their camp with these things dotted around the outside. Okay, metaltlin besocha. That is considered a fence or some sort of division that demarcates their camp area as a Rosh Hashanah. ובלבד שיהא גדר גבוה 10 טפחים, but it's got to be 10 טפחים high. Otherwise, it's not really a partition. ולא יהיו פרצות יתרות על הבניין, and the gaps cannot be more than the built-up pieces. You got to find a lot of clay behemoth to do something like this. Kol pirza shehi k'eser amos muteres. You can have a pirza that is up to 10 amas because that's considered just like an opening, like a doorway. Okay. Yes, yasemikan asur. But if it's more than 10 tvachim, sorry, 10 amas, 10 amas.
No.
If it's more than 10 amas, that's no longer just a doorway. That's ois fence.
This is very similar to a sukkah, where when you're making a sukkah, you can use an animal and like a fence, right? You can use if you put an animal there or something. I think in sukkah you can do that.
We do that. Did we have a Mishnah with using an animal in sukkah? I would have expected them to mention that in this Mishnah. I don't remember ever using an animal as a
No, you didn't. You didn't, but
Mm. Oh, is it in Gemara sukkah maybe?
yeah, in the Gemara, yeah, no, I didn't mean you personally.
Okay, because I don't remember it being in the Mishnah, but it might be in the Gemara. I haven't studied the whole of sukkah.
Have a look at that. Take a look. All right, we are back to Shabbos. Love Olive.
Yeah, good.
Okay, good. I'm not sure we've done. With what may a woman go? With what may a woman go out, and with what may she not go out? The woman may not go out neither with wooden threads, nor with linen threads, nor with straps that are on her head, nor may she immerse herself in a mikvah. With them, less she loosens them. Nor may she go out with a frontlet, nor with head bangles, not when they are not sewn, nor with a forehead pad into a public domain, nor with a golden city, nor with a golden necklace, nor with a nose ring, or rings that bears no signet, nor with a needle without an eye. But if she went out, she is not liable for a sin offering. A man may not go out with a household hobbled sandaled, not with a single one, when there is no wound on his foot, nor with a tefillin, nor with an amulet, or no, when it is not from an expert, nor with a coat of mail, nor with a helmet, nor with greaves. But if he went out, he is not liable for a sin offering. A woman may not go out with a needle that has an eye, nor with a signet ring, nor with a Coca-Cola-shaped head ring, nor with a spice bundle, nor with a perfume flask. And if she went out, she's liable for a sin offering. And these are the words of Mayor. But it can come and exempt her in the case of a spice bundle or a perfume flask.
Okay. We skipped
Yeah.
one group of Mishnahs also in Shabbos. We need very good Chaf Aleph Aleph.
I'm sorry, you said which one? I have it here.
Shabbos Chaf Aleph Aleph.
Right, right. Aleph, Aleph.
Chaf
Wait a
Aleph.
second. Cup Aleph.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it here. Okay. Um, where man may pick up his son, although there is a stone in his hand, or a basket, although there is a stone in it. Similarly, one may move contaminated truma from together with uncontaminated truma or with ordinary food. Rabbi Yehuda says we may also remove one part of truma from a mixture with 100 parts of ordinary food. A stone which is on the opening of a cask, one may tilt on its side so that it falls off. And if it was the other cask, it was among the other casks, one may lift it and then tilt it on the side so that it falls off. Money which is on a pillow, one may shake the pillow so it falls off. There was filth on it, he may wipe off with a rag. If there was made of feather, he may pour water on it until it disappears. Beit Shammai says we may pick up bones and husks from the table, but Beis Hillel says one must pick up the entire table board and shake it. We may remove from the table even crumbs less than the size of a Zias, as well as the pods of chickpeas and the pods of lentils, because they are animal fodder. A sponge, if it has a leather handle, we may wipe with it, but if not, we may not wipe with it. The sages, however, say in either case, it may be moved about on Shabbos and is not susceptible to contamination.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
All
All right. Let's go to Trumas.
Truma. Okay. Truma. Okay. Sorry. Here, Aleph. Regarding both this and that, Rabbi Yeshua said, that is not the truma that which I am bidden to not to render unclean, only which I may not eat, and that which may I not render unclean. If he was passing from one place to another with loaves of truma in his hand, and a non-Jew said to him, "Give me one, and I shall render it unclean, and if not, I shall not render it unclean." Rabbi Eliezer says, "Let him render it all unclean, and let him not give one to render unclean." Rabbi Yeshua says, "Let him place one before him on a stone." And so too, women who to non-Jews said, "Give us one of you, and let us defile her, although we would defile all of you. Let all of them be defiled, but let them not hand over one to an Israelite soul. If one sowed truma, if in error, he must plow it over, but if willfully, he must let it grow. If it reached a third of its growth, whether in error or willfully, he must let it grow. And in the case of flax, if willfully, he must plow it over."
Okay. Mikvos.
Okay, base, yes. The red base should. If a mikveh consists of 40 saw of water and mud,
Hold on.
really
It's Tess.
it is test. Okay. If one arranged jars in a cistern and they filled with water, although the cistern absorbed all of its water, it can break them. If a mikveh consists of 40 saw of water and mud, Rabbi Eliezer says one may immerse items in the water, but one may not immerse them in the mud. Rabbi Yeshua says in both water and mud. In what mud may be immersed? In mud over which the water flows. If, however, the water was on one side, then Yeshua agrees that one may immerse items in the water, but not in the mud. What type of mud were they speaking of? Mud which is made into which a stick sinks on its own accord. So says Reb Meir. Reb Yehuda says a place where a measuring stick cannot stand. Eliezer ben Dode says a place where a plumb bob sinks. Eliezer says such that falls through the opening of a barrel. Reb Shimon says such that enters the tube of a water skin. Reb Eliezer ben Tzaddik says such that is measured in a log. Reb Yoshi says that there are two mikvahs, either of which contain 40 sor, and a log and a half of shuvin fell into one, and a log and a half of shuvin fell into the other, and then they became mixed. Their waters are still valid because they were never designated as disqualified. But if there's a mikvah that does not contain 40 sor, and 3 lugim of shuvin fell into it, and it was then divided into two, the waters remained and disqualified because they have already been designated as disqualified. But Rabbi Shua declares them valid for Rabbi Shua used to say any mikvah not containing 40 sor into which 3 lugim of shuvin fell, and then even if one kortov was removed, the water is valid because of the short of 3 lugim of shuvin. But the sages say it is forever in its disqualified state until the full amount of its original contents flows out, plus a little more.
Yeah.
Okay. Coolin.
Yeah.
Okay, space. If one slaughters two heads at once, his slaughtering is valid. If two hold a knife and slaughter even one, if one is above and one below, the slaughtering is valid. If he severed the head with the one stroke, it is invalid. If he was slaughtering and severed the head with one stroke, if the knife measures the width of one neck, it's valid. If he was slaughtering and severed two heads with one stroke, if the knife measures the width of one neck, it is valid. When does this ruling apply? Only when he made a forward stroke but not a backward stroke, or if he made a backward stroke but not a forward stroke. But if he made a forward stroke and a backward stroke, however short it was, even with a scalpel, it is invalid. If a knife fell and slaughtered, even though it is slaughtered in the normal fashion, it is invalid. And it is stated, as it is stated, and you shall slaughter and you shall eat. What shall you slaughter? You may eat. If the knife fell and he picked it up, or if clothes fell and he picked it up, or if he sharpened the knife and became fatigued, and his companion came and slaughtered, if he paused as long as it takes to slaughter, it is invalid. Reb Shimon says, if he paused as long as it takes to examine. Okay,
And
one
one.
more. One severed the esophagus and tore the trachea, or if he severed the trachea and tore the esophagus, or he severed one of them and waited till the animal died, or if he thrust the knife under the second organ and cut it. Rabbi Yeshavav says it is a vela. Rabbi Akiva says it is trefa. Rabbi Yeshavav says a general rule in the name of Yeshua, whatever became unfit through its slaughtering is nevela. Whatever is slaughtered properly with something else caused it to become unfit is trefa. And Rabbi Akiva admitted to him.
Okay.
And Nazir. Okay, Vav Dalet. A Nazir who drank wine all day is liable to only one set of lashes. If they said to him, don't drink, and he drank, he is liable to each one. If he shaved his head all day, he is liable to only one set of lashes. If he said that they said to him, don't shave, and he shaved, he is liable for each one. If he contaminated himself with tumor all the day of the dead all day, and is liable to only one set of lashes. If they said to him, don't contaminate yourself, and he did contaminate himself, he is liable for each one. Three matters are forbidden to a Nazir: tumor, head shaving, and products of the grapevine. There is an aspect of greater stringency to tumor and head shaving than to products of the grapevine, and that tumor and head shaving cause forfeiture, whereas the products of the grapevine do not cause forfeiture. There is an aspect of greater stringency to provide products of the grapevine than to tumor and head shaving, and that there are no exceptions to the prohibition of the products of the grapevine, where there is exceptions to the prohibition of tumor and head shaving. Where shaving is an obligation and where there is an abandoned corpse, and there is an aspect of greater stringency to tumor than to head shaving, in the tumor cases, forfeiture of all the days previously observed, and one is obligated because of it to bring a sacrifice. Whereas head shaving causes forfeiture of only 30 days, and one is not obligated to bring a sacrifice. What is the procedure for head shaving and tumor? One would be sprinkled on the third day and on the seventh day. Shave his head on the seventh and bring his sacrifices on the eighth. However, if he shaved on the eighth, he brings his sacrifices on the same day. These are the words of Rebbe Akiva. Rebbe Toffin said to him, what is the difference between this one and the Metzora? He said to him, this one's purification is dependent on its days, while the Metzora's purification depends on the shaving, and he cannot bring a sacrifice unless the sun has set on him.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.